Welcome back to the Top 6 show. Very sorry about the delay. We're still waiting on Kaz. He's had some technical issues today. But welcome back. Smash like buttons. Subscribe. The Premier League returns. I know everybody's excited about it. It's always a drab weekend when there's no proper football on. No disrespect to all the other leagues last weekend, but it was trash. It was trash. A trash weekend. And it returns. We're going to be talking about Arsenal, Brentford. We're going to be talking about Tottenham versus Leicester at length. We're going to be reviewing the England squad announcement that has come out, plus a few little debates. Kane versus Haaland, who's the best striker? Could Harry Kane become a GOAT without a trophy? That's all coming up later on the show as well. And I also want to discuss on a few other conversations about Arteta after winning Manager of the Month. And who do you think is the best centre-back partnership in the Premier League as it stands right now? Make sure you're hitting like buttons, as I say, getting your comments in. Brilliant panel on the show tonight, representative of pretty much most of the team. We have no Chelsea fan tonight, though, but that's okay. They're licking wounds still. Jess is here repping Arsenal with us this evening. Welcome back to the show, Jess.
Sorry, I was like, wait, what do I say at this moment?
Say, normally you say hello when someone's saying hello to you. I don't know how it works in California.
I was like, I don't have a good intro or anything. I'm just here. But yeah, hey.
Wow, that was dead.
I need football back. I need football back. I'm sorry.
Patrick, welcome, Patrick.
Yo, what's going on? Don't worry, Terry. I'll bring the energy for North London. It's all good. It's all good.
There we go. Man like Monts back again. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, bro. You know what I mean? Less Liverpool, more happiness right now. You already know what it is, man. Let's laugh at Chelsea, even though we ain't got a representative here.
Absolutely. And after seeing his striker breaking more and more records every time he plays a game, how you feeling, Daps? You good, me old mate?
It's Friday. It's Friday. Why would I not be good? And we've got football back. Early kickoff tomorrow. Looking forward to
yes, I know. I'm looking forward to that game as well. A few of the mods are asking why did we remove some people's mod status? Because I went and had a look, and I don't know what mod did it, but I had over 4,000 people blocked from making comments on the football terrace. So I know some of you weren't doing that, but I don't know who did. So blanket removal I had to do because that's 4,000. I had 12 members that were blocked. They're members, they pay, and they were blocked. And I know for a fact they weren't blocked for proper reasons. So that's why my people.
Them biased mods.
I saw a mod block someone the other day because they didn't agree with my opinion. I'm like, that's not a reason to fucking block someone. Oh, stop. I actually don't even mind spamming. Like, let spamming happen. It's not even a problem. Just ignore it. You're not here for the chat. You're here for the conversation. Just relax a little bit, people. But anyway, I don't know if it was true. I had no idea who it was. I'm not going to accuse anybody, but it's an absolute madness. But there we go. Premier League football does return. But before we get on to that, I did want to get your takes on the latest England squad. Luke Shaw included, Maguire included, no Jadon Sancho, no Marcus Rashford, no Ben White. What are we thinking?
Go on, Terry. There's one more you want to say. That I know there's one in there that you really aren't too keen on being selected. I'll say Trent, if you don't want to.
Trent.
Jack Grealish?
Oh, Jack, listen, I don't... Listen, I said it the other day. Listen, I think Jack Grealish and Saka should both be in the squad, but I do think that Jadon Sancho has been better than them this season. He's been better than Bowen as well. For him not to be included, I think's wrong. Mainly based on the logic that people are angry that Maguire's in poor form and he's still been picked. So, you know, the fact that Grealish hasn't played and done anything in the games where he has been playing this season. Bowen's been poor, but they're still in the squad and Sancho's not. Arsenal fans kind of took it a little bit out of context and made it about Sancho versus Saka. And I was like, I'm not really debating who's been better. I think one thing, you think another. I don't care about that debate. I care about the fact that Sancho's in good form, scoring goals, and he's not been picked over players that have been out injured or have been poor this season, which I do think is wrong, especially from an attacking point of view. So, yeah, 100%. I think it's wrong that Sancho's not in the squad. But equally, I wouldn't drop Grealish and I wouldn't drop Saka. I'd drop Bowen because I think those three are all better than Jared Bowen. So, yeah, it's nonsense. It's easy for me.
I think Grealish is in there. He's not in there. As a City fan, I'll tell you, he's not in there based on his club form. He's in there based on his form for England over the last few games because his club form undeniably is a little bit concerning for me. But I do think if you look at the last couple of England games, he's contributed quite a lot in. So I think that's probably the reason. Yeah, Bowen's a mad one. He must be there for free kicks or
I
something.
just don't you think the number of defenders is just a bit concerning each year?
No, that's just
What?
Southgate.
They
I
play
know it's a
fine.
Southgate, but it's just increasingly concerning for me. Like, there's just certain players for me that just should definitely at least be getting a look in. You know what I mean? James Maddison, sparkling form.
Maddison will never make the England team. Never. It's just
I know, but like again, that's we know it's not it's based on merit for certain man.
yeah.
I think Maddison should at least have a look in. I would have loved to see Marcus Edwards even get on the bench. I know eyes aren't really looking in that direction, but like I think these are some of the shots that
Is this the last international before
The World
before-
Cup, yeah.
Yeah,
It
it's
is,
the
isn't
last,
it? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
last
so
batch
I
of
kind of-
friendlies. Yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of get why he's not going to go all out with trying someone new. Do you know what I mean? Like, it can't be. This isn't really the game that. I mean, for me personally, these games. Why didn't he? Potentially, we could have. If everyone's doesn't want to extend the Premier League, we could have actually got rid of these internationals and then put a game or two in this week to catch up. But if we have to go with it, I don't think this is where you would play someone and give them their first cap, because you can't go off one cap and go, oh well, based on that one cap, I'm not going to take him.
But with that logic, then Daps, there's absolutely no point to these friendlies because
Agreed.
the team's
No,
already
that's what I'm
picked.
saying,
Do you know
but
what I mean? I hear what you're
completely
saying,
no
but then it makes
Yeah.
we might as well scrap these friendlies. They're actually a waste of time because deep
That's
down
kind of
he
the
already
agenda for
knows.
me.
Yeah, he already knows his team.
But-
If you're not going to give players that deserve to play a chance and you're going to pick the same offenders basically, then what's the point of these friendlies? You might as well just fast forward them and get straight to the World Cup squad. So waste of
Amen
time.
to that. Yeah.
Isn't it
Is
amazing?
Gomez not there for any reason, or is it his form, or?
He
Well,
ain't
Joe
been good
Gomez-
enough. Yeah, he ain't
he's
been
not-
good enough.
Oh no, I
good.
agree with you on that one. I'm glad that
He's
you
not
agree
good
with me
enough.
on that one. But
Cool. I get. So I want
These
I
aren't
wanna-
friendlies though. These are Nations League games, right? Am I bugging?
no,
No,
They're friendlies.
they're friendlies.
No, I thought they were. No, I
Oh,
thought
they're
no,
Nation
they're Nation League games. I
Oh,
want
sorry.
to try and get onto some of the contentious talking points from the last few days, though. So, Maguire and Shaw being picked, Jess, is that right?
Yeah, but well, okay, Maguire, he's never put a foot wrong. Well, he hasn't put a foot.
Are you called
wrong.
Jess?
Oh my god! I didn't even hear it on-
It's okay. I was gonna let you have it.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're,
I'm so
you're good.
sorry.
You're good. No worries.
I'm so sorry.
No, I think with these things, it's more that it's like there's more than one factor in why a player gets chosen. We all know that. I think where Southgate got caught up is when he said that he was going to choose based on form. I think I've seen that quote a couple of times. And so when people go back to that quote, they're like, okay, well, so-and-so's not informed. So what do you mean? Probably should have never said that, because international managers don't always choose on form. We know that they choose based on who they trust from past tournaments. So we've seen in the past that there's been players that have been in really good form for a lot of different national teams that don't get chosen, but you see the same characters in there and you wonder why. Maguire and Luke Shaw are two players that he feels comfortable with and trusts based on the last two tournaments that he coached in. So if he had just never said that, I don't think people would have as big of an issue with it. But it is kind of concerning that Maguire and Luke Shaw have not played at all, really this season, and they're getting into the team. But are you surprised? I just think ultimately, if you take away that one quote and you throw it away, you can look at who he's chosen and make a case for okay, well, that makes sense. National team form matters as well. Maguire hasn't been bad for England, national team wise. He really hasn't. And so, yeah, that's just basically what it is. I know people don't like it. Of course, I'd rather see Ben White in there, but I just look at it and I'm like, he's just not a favorite. He's not one of the guys that he trusts, and he's going into a World Cup, and he needs is it okay? I'm going to go with this guy that's been good form, but I've never seen him in a big tournament, or am I going to go with the guys that I know? I'm going into a World Cup, so you have to look at it from that perspective. It's risky because some of these guys haven't been playing, but it is what it is. My hot take is, and I'm sure you guys probably feel the same way, is this is probably Southgate's last tournament anyway. So
well, unless he wins it.
Terry, you're
but
probably know when's his
he's
contract
not.
till?
It's sarcasm in my voice there. There is.
No,
Sorry.
but when's his contract till, Terry? You'll know that.
No, I think he's
Oh,
got 2 or 3 more years after this. Last time I checked, but it depends on what he does. If he gets another final or he wins, then he'll probably stay on, because in fairness, irrespective of what you think of his style, if he gets to another, like, does that well again, you can't sack him. But I don't think he will. I agree with Jess. I don't think he will. Welcome, Kaz, by the way. It's good to see your hair out. That's where you were, really, weren't you? Like, man was blow drying his hair.
Nah. Oh yeah, don't be jealous, Terry. That's why you got your calf on today.
Or is it doing your eyelashes, Cass? Is it doing your eyelashes? I don't know which one.
I don't wear eyeliner. I don't wear mascara. Like, I don't get this. I don't get it. It's just men have dark eyelashes and dark eyes compared to women and all that kind of stuff. Typically. Anyways, long story short, thank you, Terry. I was sorting out my mic settings, or trying to. Anyways, I was having a mare. So
fair dues.
Hopefully, is it sorted out? Does it sound okay now? Or is it still the same?
Cool. It's still kind of, it's good. Every few words it cuts out. That's because the mic you've got is a condenser mic, which needs your voice, your mouth needs to be about this close to it. A lot of people
like this.
Yeah, the ones we have in our studio, like, people talk like this all the time when you start doing this, and your voice goes out. You have to be there. They don't work. That's the point of them. Anyone he picks, the squad is bang average. I think he knows that, and he wants to be more defensive, which is a wise strategy. Well, yeah, the number of defenders doesn't shock me for a manager who sits behind the ball. It's like, we're going to ask the question later, like, who the best centre-back pairing is in the Premier League, and I'll give you my answer right now. The best centre-league pairing in the Premier League is Romero and Harry Kane. Like, very defensive. Like, when you it's true. Like, Harry Kane's also a defender for England as well. It's one of them ones. These pragmatic managers, it's what they do. In terms of Ivan Toney being picked, what we sound about that? A good pick, like a good alternative to Harry Kane.
Well deserved. He deserves to be there. And I think, like, Toney shows, it's a weird one, because I was gonna pull that up obviously when Jess and Daps were talking about players just being picked. I think that Eric Dyer and Ivan Toney deserve to be there off the strength of the last 12 months or so. Those two have been in good form and have been consistent. So, Southgate has to stay true to his words with those two players. But then there's loads of players that shouldn't be there, and they are. So it's a bit of a weird one. But yeah, Toney deserves to be there, and I hope he actually makes the finalized squad. Good player. As I said before, I like the way he plays. Like his range of goals and finishing is quality, and he's a big threat for whoever he's up against.
Yeah, I'm happy to see him there personally. You got Twisted here, says that Toney is not ready for England, but
that's a weird one.
He is. He is ready.
I would just say this to you, Twisted. Like, based on, like, I do say this to the football terrace community. Like, please stop just making comments. Explain why. Like, I need that needs explaining, Twisted. You need to explain why you're saying that. Someone said earlier he's only a championship level player, and I'm like, he's banging goals in the Prem. That's like, yeah,
I think this season in particular, he's looks good this season, to be fair.
But he looked fine last season. I looked at his stats from last season. He had 12 goals and like 5 assists, and I think he had some injuries as well for a team that was also came up. So I mean, there's a lot of strikers that don't get that amount, that people think are good, So I think he's definitely ready, but who is actually ready to be the backup to Kane? I think that's a better, if you don't think he's ready, then who is? Because the only other player that's been consistent, that's fit, is Tammy Abraham.
Yeah,
that's it. So it's Tammy Abraham or Toney, Ivan Toney. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is not a factor. Bamford is not a factor. Like, some of these guys, like, who else? I think maybe, I don't know.
That's a really good point.
Wilson, he's been injured.
That is a very good point.
You have to pick somebody.
England's striking options are
poor.
Tony.
But then saying that, but if you think about it, worldwide, the striking options ain't that good. If you look at the top teams, team for team, there ain't that many good strikers out there, if we're being real. I think Brazil have a good talent pool of strikers, and a good one or two are going to miss out. But if you go team for team, there ain't that many top strikers out there. So
that's why Monts is like bought Nunes, isn't it? To be fair.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is true. I mean, Dominic Calvert-Lewin is a good player, but he's never fit. But no, he ain't a good player. I'm a liar. He's a good level player. He had like a 6-month purple patch where he was scoring goals, and that was it. And since then, he doesn't do very much at all. He's not a good finisher. He's okay in the air. He's got a good leap. He is He's taken the route of Bellerin. He's become a model. That's what he is now. He's a model that plays football at the weekends. That's what he is now. And I've got no issue with how he dresses, by the way. Like, each to their own. Like, I wouldn't dress like that, but some people would. But he's not a footballer anymore. He's a model that plays football. The same as Bellerin is a model and a vegan activist who plays football. And these kind of people shouldn't. I don't want Calvert-Lewin anywhere near the England squad. He's nowhere near good enough. It's true.
Chin as well.
No, it's not that. It's just you said the vegan activist that got me.
Yeah, he is. He's more of an activist, Bellerin. Honestly, but we saw Rashford go through this, where it's not wrong that people have focuses outside of the game, but if you're more focused on a hobby or something you're passionate about, and you put more energy into that than your day job, your actual day job will suffer. We saw Rashford; he was doing a brilliant thing for those kids. He fed 4 million children, but when he was focusing on that, I know he had injuries as well, but I think the pressure of that, the focus on that, also damaged his game. And at the end of the day, you're being paid a colossal amount of money by fans, either directly or indirectly by fans, to play football, and that should be your primary focus, in my opinion, above and beyond everything else, especially if you're not delivering. Like, if you're performing like Messi and Ronaldo and you're opening up businesses and restaurants and brands, cool. But if you're struggling, you're not scoring goals or you're injured, it's like, nah, mate, like, focus on the game. Because if it wasn't for the game, you wouldn't have the profile to be doing those things anyway. And I just find it a little bit distasteful sometimes. England's core philosophy will always be the issue. Y'all don't pick creative, inventive players and opt to play proper, aka boring football. Yeah, look, you could argue that. I mean, we definitely have good players in the team. We definitely have good players in the team and squad. But there we go. Viewers, make sure like buttons are being smashed and that you are subscribing to the Terrace. But as we know, football returns this weekend. One of the big games this weekend is Tottenham hosting Leicester, right? You've got them at home.
Yeah, at home.
How are you feeling ahead of that game? Are you feeling confident? Because obviously we did have a little montage to play for you, but I couldn't do it because there was an issue with the editing, the rendering of it. But obviously,
thank God.
You took a beating in the week. Yes, you took a beating. You took an absolute beating. You feeling confident going into this game against Leicester?
Absolute beating. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we crumbled in the last 10 minutes. Don't get me wrong. That was an absolute bottle job capitulation. That's the right word. Because the game wasn't great. I thought, cool, take a draw, we move on, innit? And then we just literally just shit the bed. They scored a goal, then they scored another goal, and it's 2-0. Cool, fair enough. We deserved it. No, I'm not scared about Leicester. I think we're beating them. I think we're beating them quite comfortably. Sometimes you do need a wake-up call. And I feel we were sleepwalking in games, just doing enough to get by. If we win the game, it is what it is. If we draw, cool. Sometimes you need to get whipped back into shape. And I feel that game is it. I'd rather it happen in the Champions League in the early group stages than in the Prem. And I think, yeah, Conte put a rocket up their arse, and they were all back in training early in the morning the next day. And yeah, we take it out. We take it out on them. Yeah, pause. Yeah, pause. We take it out on them on tomorrow. So I'm excited to see the fight back, the bounce back, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, man, we need to actually play on the front foot from the minute one. No, we're like sleepwalking into games. Half time it comes, we're in the game still, and then we kind of turn up in the last 20 minutes. We need more than that. So yeah, man, I'm excited to see what we do tomorrow. We need to get back into. Son needs to get dropped now. No more friendliness.
Yeah, you're not playing City next game now, so you can drop him to be fair.
Yeah, he needs to be rotated, man. At the end of the day, if you're not playing good enough, I'm not saying that. Obviously, Son is one of the best players in the Premier League for me. He's still absolute savage on his day, but he's not been good all season. He's kind of got like, it's a weird one because like Son and Salah, they can be amazing, but then they can also, the ball's bouncing off their shins, they're not dribbling past players, they can't beat a
Why
man.
are you coupling Salah in there?
Because Salah's also been poor. He's also been poor, and he's also a winger. So listen, I'm just.
Oh my gosh, the way you tried to couple them together was like a little bit offensive.
I'll call a spade a spade. Well, they both shared the golden boot, both world-class wingers, but at the end of the day, both have been poor by their standards this season. Am I wrong or am I wrong?
It's the
Son
way
world-class?
Monts didn't even defend. Jess came to the defense of Salah.
Monts is a real one. Monts knows what I'm saying. Monts knows I'm spitting in it. So
they've both been underwhelming. I just think Stone's come a little bit more in it. Like for me,
I feel like Salah's been more consistent for a longer period of time, has he not? Like Salah's been
Uh,
world class for like 3-4 seasons. Son had a world class season last season,
Son
and
was
now all of a
world-class
sudden
this
you want to
season
lump
before
them
that.
into the
No,
same
I'm
group.
just saying, listen, two top world-class players that are not playing well right now, and they're both wide forwards, wingers, whatever you want to call it. So both playing for big teams.
Doesn't
both
Salah have like
stinking it
6
up.
goals this season, and Son has none?
I don't know, I haven't counted. I just know when I watch him, he
okay.
doesn't. Oh, there you go. See, there you go.
No,
So
you sound
How
like
many goals does he have?
you sound like Lee Gunner right now, with
Who?
your
Me?
with your
Or-
yeah with your
Wow,
Mo,
Jesus.
with your Mo Salah agenda, because people always say that about Mo Salah. If he ain't scoring, he does nothing. I believe none of you watch him. I believe nobody watches him. He has not, in my opinion, been dirt poor in these games. He's the highest chance creator in the Premier League this season, and there's been multiple times. Watch the games, right? He won't be able to do it this weekend. I started going back and watching them. I can't share the footage, but go back and watch the games. I was looking on Wirescout. The amount of times he put through balls into the box, balls across the 6-yard box, and his teammates haven't made the right runs or got there. The guy's been creating opportunities. It's the rest of the attackers that have been letting Liverpool down. The conversion rate of chances is abysmal this year for the attackers. Mo Salah's been great. Son, on the other hand, of course he should be dropped. He's been awful. The purple patch has run out for him again, and he's back to that Park Ji-sung level. That's it.
but you know what?
Can I correct myself
Patrick-
really quick? I'm
yeah, go
sorry.
on,
He has
go on,
like
go on,
he has
go on.
2 goals and like 2 assists. So
There you
his
go.
GA
Thank
is
you.
pretty good.
Thank you.
But
And I
that's more
watched
than
the
what
game,
Son
and-
has. I'm still right. I may have gotten my the example wrong, but
I never said,
I was still
Son
right.
over Salah or Salah over Son. I said both have been
No, you
poor.
said they were similar.
They
I
are.
just
They
don't
are
think we
similar.
should lump
No,
them
no,
in the same
I'm
group.
gonna correct.
No
Sorry,
one's
guys.
going to look at Salah and say, yeah, he's playing well right now, are they? Let's be real.
So I'm going to correct you again, Jess. You're wrong. He's played 9 games this season, Mo Salah. He has 4 goals and 3 assists. He has 7 GA in 9 games.
In the Prem.
Pause.
No,
Not
no,
the
they haven't been
Prem.
9 Prem in all games.
Okay.
In all games.
Forget that, man. I'm talking about the Premier League.
What do
Forget
you mean?
that.
But he's
No,
playing
no,
in
no.
the Champions
No,
League.
it's Prem and
Forget
Champions.
that.
To be fair, I
Forget
was
that.
thinking this earlier on someone else. If you're putting Prem and Europa League or Prem and Carabao, I get it. But if you're talking Prem and Champions League, to be fair,
Yeah, but
it's
that's
a valid stat.
But no, but you've got to include it. I say why you got to include it, because if you played in the Community Shield and if you and Son balled out in it, and you played a couple of Champions League games and Son balled out in it, you guys wouldn't be calling for him to be dropped. It's because he's played well in no games that you're asking for him to be dropped.
Yeah, I agree. But it's convenient when you're adding both leagues or both competitions, a league and a competition, to make Salah look better. I've watched him
But if
many
you
a time, and he's not looked good. That's my point.
but if you have 2 goals and 2 assists versus 0, like that is significantly different, is it not?
In six games. It's only 6 games as well. Like,
yeah.
Do you know what it is, Patrick?
I just don't like that you lumped him. That's
Patrick, there's no context that can help Son in whatever he's done this season.
Listen, I was not adding context. I don't know why you have bitten.
I'm not saying you're trying to protect Son, but to put Salah in like as if they eat at the same table, it's never been that. Like it's never been that. I understand Son, he'll fire, and when he's on fire, he is top 3 or top 5. He's always in that argument. But at the end of the day, it is about consistency, and he will never. I think for me, he's never been in Mo Salah's bracket because of his consistency or his inconsistencies. And when he's not firing, bro, he's stinking it up. Like at least as we said, when Mo Salah's not scoring, the lazy agenda to say that he doesn't do anything else, like as Terry said, it's just lazy, man. Because
all right, let's take it back to last year.
Can I switch it though?
Sorry, Daps.
Let's carry on this conversation.
Yeah. But let's take it back to last year when Salah was clear with Son, and we all thought he was going to walk the golden boot, and then there was like a 3-month period where he did absolutely fuck all offensively. So let's not say, Salah was clear with Son all day, because it's not. When Salah's playing poorly, he's playing poorly. I'm talking about in the terms of when I group them together, people are acting like it's wild. It's not.
No, but Patrick, those are the only 3 months he's been bad in his whole career at Liverpool.
Let me jump in on this.
It's not that long ago. It's not that long ago.
I'll jump in on this. Roadrunner and the Wolf thing, like the meat. That's how clear. That's how clear. Salah is of Son. Son is a purple patch warrior at the end of the day, and that's what he's known of. He's world class in my opinion, but he's so purple patch you can't even put him close to Salah. I don't even know why we're even having this debate. To be fair, I get it. He's your boy. I get it,
We're not-
Patrick.
we're
and
not-
that. But
Cat,
Salah's
stop
been
it,
doing
stop
it.
stop
Salah's
We're
been
not-
doing it in the Champions League. He's been getting to finals. I suppose he's won a few things. He's been doing. I don't know why we're still doubting Salah after 5 years of him doing more than 30 GA per season. Son does that once or maybe a couple times, and yet
But
Salah.
no-
I get it, but on a technical level, as a winger, yes, Son is serious, but Salah is inverted forward. His numbers don't lie. He is a beast, and he is still one of the world's best. Son is not. That's my opinion.
Why are you not twisting what I said? When did I say I doubted
Blame
Salah?
Jess, not us.
Like,
Blame Jess, not us.
I'm really confused where you're going with this. I'm very, very confused.
The only reason why I brought it up is because you lump them in unnecessarily when we're talking about Son and we're talking about Spurs, and then you lumped in Salah. I don't know why you did it. I need to know why you did it, because
I explained
Salah
why I did it.
has
Two
two
top-
goals and 2 assists in 6 matches, and Son has nothing. He has nothing in his hands, nothing. It's empty. So I don't know why you lumped them in together. It was like, well, if I drag along Salah, it doesn't look as bad, but it's bad.
Not at all. There was no agenda. It's just two players, like I said, two world-class wide forwards, wingers, whatever you want to call it, that are not playing well. That was it. There was no agenda, no extra.
Can I throw Grealish in there, please? Why
I think that's actually a better comp. Is Son and Grealish have been poor this season, not Salah.
It is. I want to show you guys something as well about back end of last season. Mo Salah for me, and I know why, especially rivals do this to him. In that back end of the season where everybody said he was playing poorly, doing nothing, he still produced more than 95% of all other attackers in the league. This is the back end of last season. So in the final 14 games of the season, 13 of which he played in, he still contributed 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. He still contributed 12 GA in the period where everybody said he did absolutely nothing. And I think that for me is where I get frustrated. I'm a Man United fan, and I should be on Mo Salah's back, but I really struggle to do it because I feel like there's agendas, and where those agendas have come from is because he's winning trophies, he's winning personal accolades, he's GA, which is an important part of an attacker's profile, is on par with Thierry Henry after this many games. And I think what it does when a player is performing like that is no one outside of Liverpool fans wants Mo Salah to move into GOAT conversations, greatness conversations. Whether you're a City fan, you're like, oh, I don't want him to overtake Aguero. Whether you're a Man United fan, you don't want him to be looked at as better than Ryan Giggs or better than Wayne Rooney. Whether you're an Arsenal fan, you think, do you know what? With a fan base the size of Liverpool, if he does this for another 3 or 4 more years, wins another Champions League and another 2 Premier Leagues, and then ends up outscoring Thierry Henry, you know for a fact Liverpool fans will push that agenda that he is the GOAT, right? You just get that. So what people start to do is they start to they try and play down and discredit him. It's an early game. It's planting that seed that Mo Salah isn't that good. You've already seen it, and we're going to get onto this later with Haaland. People are already planting the seeds that what he's doing isn't that great, because they're looking at it going, crap, if he comes in and keeps scoring like this for 2 or 3 years, he's going to surpass most players' legends very, very quickly indeed. So I think Mo Salah gets really poor. I think he gets a lack of credit because people are fearful of how good he actually is. I really do think, not so much.
Do you know what it is, Terry?
It's frustrating.
As content creators, right, we should be clever with it. And I'm with you. I want to slander Liverpool as much as I fucking can, right? So but I pick my arguments. So I know that the Salah one, I can't really win because his numbers don't lie. So what you do is you switch it and you say that last season he was still getting those numbers because he was playing closer to Jota, right? And this shows how fucking shit Nunes is. Sorry for my French, but ultimately, I'm going to switch the slander to Nunes because I can use this one good. Because last year it worked with Jota. This season, Salah has had to be pushed so far wide because of Nunes, right? And it's not working. So there's the slander on Liverpool. Nunes was poor business from Liverpool.
I agree on that. Back to Tottenham. We all think they're going to win this weekend, or could there be another little banana skin, because they're their first defeat of the season, which was nice to see midweek. Anybody?
I thought you're meant to be impartial, Terry.
I am impartial.
I think they're going to win.
I'm speaking.
I think they're going to
win. So go on.
I think they're going to win, and it's not even going to be like a sweat. Like, it is Leicester at the end of the day, and they are in what you would consider a crisis. They can't sack a manager because they can't afford to. And he's just, I don't know, he's lost. And so I do think at home, Tottenham will bounce back and beat Leicester quite easily. So yeah, as much as it pains me, but yeah, I think they easily win, to be honest.
Do you know what? For me, there was something Patrick said that I thought was key. He said about the bounce back, and he's right with not just in football but in life. It's not about the wins; it's about how you bounce back from the losses. And I was looking at this week, the fact that Conte on Wednesday morning had the whole team in early running, and this is the crucial point: can you manage your squad correctly and motivate them? Or are you shouting at them? Because if you're shouting at them, you could lose them. And I've said the same about Klopp. Liverpool will bounce back because their squad's good enough. It's Klopp making sure he doesn't lose the dressing room, because that's a bigger issue. Their quality is undeniable, but he can't, and it's the same with Conte, that can he keep hold of this? Because Tottenham should bounce back. Leicester, come on. You should smack up Leicester easily. To be fair, I know you're difficult to beat, but this is the type of game where maybe you don't drop Son. This could help Son's confidence. Let him go out. Leicester, we've seen, bro. We saw a Brighton beat them 5-2. If you've got Son, Richarlison, Kane, come on, 3-4 goals, no problem, right?
Yeah, in theory, yeah, but the reality is Son should be dropped now. Let him come off the bench in the last 20 with a point to prove and actually do something, because he's just been awful in the games, man. And I feel for Kulusevski because he's been really good, and even when he comes on, the guy's making a difference. And it's harsh for him to get dropped or rotated, as you want to call it. But yeah, man, something needs to give. But you're right, you guys are right, as in Daps and Jess. It should be a win, and I think it'll be a comfortable win as well.
What is I guess because I haven't been here in a while, what is your theory on Son? Why do you think that this is happening?
He goes through these moments. He goes through these moments quite regularly in his career, but obviously it's highlighted now because he's just come off a golden boot. So all eyes are on him, especially now that we also have somebody like Richarlison chomping at the bit, or Kulusevski, whoever you want to. So typically, if this would have happened last year, and it happened last year, but no one was really talking about it because the spotlight wasn't on him. Now it is, so it's been highlighted more. So he is one of those players where he's quite streaky, but now the whole world is watching, and obviously he needs to. He's overdoing it as well. He's forcing it, naturally. When someone's in their pomp or when they're just feeling good, they don't overthink it. You can see him thinking about what's going to happen before the ball comes to him. So he's kind of overdoing it. So he just needs to chill out. I really think he needs to be taken out of the spotlight for a bit, get your head back in the game, and then you go again.
Plus, you've got two other players. Kulusevski looks dangerous every time he comes on. Richarlison is hungry right now. I'm not even laughing at him when he scored those Champions League goals. Bursting into tears. It shows how much he wants it, and he's looked very good. And I think what Conte needs to be careful of making a mistake on is not. He has to get it right when dropping players for the right reasons. Right now, it sends a shockwave through that dressing room. Son's been dropped. Wow, that means any of us can be dropped. Maintain your levels, keep performing. That is what pushes that is what will push Tottenham to the next level. And I think Liverpool, and you need, that's how winning mentalities are developed. That places in your teams are earned through meritocracy, through winning, through the hard work, determination, and consistency. And if Son, I'm sure he'll come back into form, no doubt. But if he can't, then it doesn't matter how good he was last season, how good he's been for the past 5 years, how loyal he's been to Tottenham. Winning football matches is the only thing that you guys should be concerned with. So I agree. I think he does need to be dropped. I think you start with Kulusevski, Richarlison, and Harry Kane together and see how that works. And absolutely, Daps is right. You need to be beating Leicester for a team in your position who have got an opportunity to play before Arsenal, to put big pressure on them on Sunday. Like, a win for me is it. Super chat here
with goals, Terry, as well, with goals.
Yeah, like Daps said, I want a comfortable win, not a 2-1 or a 3-2.
You need to send that message. We know it isn't going to be pretty, but you got to send that message most definitely. Josh here says, I will say calling Son a purple patch player is hella disrespectful. Since arriving in the league, no one has outscored him in his position, which is a fair point. Fair point being raised there by Josh. I'm an Arsenal fan, but saying Son's a purple patch is gone is unfair. I was being a little bit facetious. It's called I was being sarcastic, facetious. Since he signed, he has always produced and been key to Spurs for years. Thank you very, very much for those 2 super chats. I did want to speak about Harry Kane as well, because I saw a Twitter feed. I kind of got into it. All friendly, no issues. People try and turn things into a beef with Fuad and a few other Spurs fans yesterday. And they were talking about how, in fact, I want to read Fuad's original tweet, because I want to ask you a question here, keeping it on Spurs, keeping it on Harry Kane, because it's come up a lot this week in relation to in relation to I want to make sure I say this in the right way, but I need to find it now. I do apologize, people, while just why I am looking for this. But when it comes to Harry Kane, is he on his way to becoming a GOAT, challenging the GOATs, as it were, just with the goals that he has scored? Or does he need more? Does he need those titles? We've got Arsenal fans on here. We've got a City fan on here, in the sense of you've got Aguero, you've got Thierry Henry, great goal scoring records, good assist records, brilliant football players, but Premier League trophies, domestic trophies to boot. I'm a Man United fan, Kazes. We've got, an abundance of players. Wayne Rooney, though, as an attacker, Ronaldo as an attacker that's got done everything, done similarly to Kane. Brilliant games, brilliant performances, good records, good stats, but got trophies. Can Harry Kane, I want to go to Patrick first on this, step into the GOAT conversation without adding the silverware? Does he have to add silverware to become one of the greatest players in Premier League history in terms of legacy?
When you say legacy, for me, Harry Kane is already a GOAT. And I know some people might think this as well, but the guy's already a GOAT. In terms of the scoring, he's third on the list already? And he's still got at least 4 or 5 years left in him. He should break the Premier League all-time record. If you look at what he's achieved internationally, in the Champions League, in terms of the goal record in the Premier League, the most away goals in Premier League history, the guy's already a GOAT. When you look at what he's done as a striker, he's up there with all of them. The only thing, if you add context to it, he plays for Tottenham. The Tottenham team have never been as stacked as all the other guys who play for teams where they've had world-class players in every position all around them. So, of course, it's going to be harder to win trophies. Should he have won a trophy by now? Yes, he should have, considering all the finals that we've been in. And that is the difference between him and some of the other players, where they drag maybe a poorer team across the line in one of those games at least. But if you look at him in terms of the type of goals he scored, how long he's been doing it at this level, so 7-8 years, 20 plus goals a season, ridiculous numbers in the Champions League, ridiculous numbers for England. He's already got a World Cup Golden Boot. How is he not a GOAT? He is. He's up there with the best of them in terms of scoring ability. He is. It's just that he plays.
It's one of them ones where, for me, you have to define GOAT. You have to define GOAT, because
greatest of all time, one of the greatest of all time.
Allow it, man. Allow it. Because I would say, what I would say is world class. I'll have you call him world class, because as a striker, world class, he is undeniably. But GOAT, greatest of all time, bro. Come on. Greatest of all time.
Imagine if he gets the Premier League all-time scoring record.
That don't matter though.
Yeah?
How
can you not be one of the greatest if you've got that? And if you're third already right now at 29, is that not a valid point?
It's because of exactly what you said. Like you said, he hasn't, in all the finals that you guys have been in, he hasn't dragged his team over the line. He also hasn't played at the top level consistently and been the difference maker in those situations as well. Like, I do think that really does matter, because the greatest of all time, those players, the Messis, the Ronaldos, those types of players have been on the biggest stage, and they've made it happen in the moments that really matter. And I think that's all that he's missing. That's it. Now, if you guys get to a Champions League final and he drags Tottenham over the line and you guys win, then automatically we start looking at him differently. Then you can start putting him in that category. But he's 100% world class, like Daps has already said. But the greatest of all time is like such a small category of players that you can't just let somebody in there because they score a lot of goals. And a lot of those were like, there's not really a single one in a moment that really, really mattered for Spurs. And he hasn't left. He hasn't left and went to another team. So he's put himself in this position. He signed the contract. And there's just, I mean, he's had opportunities. Like, realistically, if we're honest, he should be at Man City right now, doing what Haaland is doing, potentially winning Champions League, potentially winning Premier League. So I think because he's had the opportunities and he didn't take them, and then he's not dragging Tottenham over the line, you can't give it to him, even though he's world class. He's just literally that level below, I think, even
Yeah,
though he's exceptional.
Can I just add on there quickly? So I agree. Like the goal scoring records that Harry Kane has got is brilliant. He is arguably the greatest finisher the Premier League has ever had. And I think that's, and some would say he is, some would say he's on his way to being, but he's there or thereabouts. But there's a few questions I would ask. Can you tell me about, and this isn't a trick question, it's how many goals has Harry Kane scored in those high pressured seasons where his team's been in a title race? How many goals has he scored in those high pressure games in those title chasing seasons?
Are you asking me, or are you just
no, sorry, I need to make my point. Sorry, like it's a little bit rhetorical, and the reason I say that is this: Thierry Henry, Sergio Aguero, Wayne Rooney. I'm going to pick those three players out. You could throw Shearer into that as well. He did it once. Those guys delivered in seasons where draws were seen as defeats, where they go into Rooney went into a Manchester derby where it was neck and neck, scored what's been voted for the greatest goal of all time, and then him and the team saw it out. Harry Kane has never, every time Harry Kane's been in a high pressured situation of that magnitude, so big semis, big finals, and the one time they've been in a title race, he hasn't delivered. So I think that the goals at Aguero, the goals at Mo Salah, the goals at Thierry Henry, the goals that Aguero, the goals that Eric Cantona scored in tight, high-pressured title races for their teams, they count for a little bit more. Those clutch moments. Equally, someone said to me yesterday, Kane's already surpassed Wayne Rooney. He might have done in terms of goal scoring record. I think technically as footballers, there's a debate. But talk to me about Harry Kane's goals in semi-finals and finals of Champions Leagues, goals in cup finals. Talk to me about Wayne Rooney's the only player in the history of the FA Cup to have 2 man of the match performances in FA Cup finals. So for me, those elements is what's missing from Harry Kane's career. Every other person in the GOAT conversation as an attacker, the Henrys, Agueros, potentially Mo Salah, Wayne Rooney, they've all got brilliant records, stats, outputs, and everything else. And they've got great moments, but they've done something that Harry Kane hasn't even looked at yet. And I don't think he can be included in that group without producing in those environments, because those environments are what really matters. If you're the best sprinter in the world, but every time you go to a world championship or the Olympics, you bottle it and lose, you're not the greatest sprinter in the world, are you? Like, I think you have to deliver. And I haven't seen that enough from Harry Kane yet. And he's good enough to. And I don't like this excuse that he's at Tottenham. As Jess said, he chose to be there. Harry Kane could have left whenever he wanted to, and he's made that decision to stay. So it's not an excuse. It's the path he decided to take. If Wayne Rooney went, nah, I ain't leaving Man United, I'm staying at Everton, he wouldn't be as decorated. Like, that's on him for me. But for me, I think calling him a GOAT right now as legacy is wrong.
Do you know what it is, Terry? That when you look at numbers, right, you're spot on with everything you said, because with Aguero, if you look at his numbers, goals per game, right, is I think it's the best in the Premier League. I think, right? But he didn't stay here long enough to break the record. Whereas Kane is going to be here long enough to break the record. But there will always be Chelsea fans that will say to me about Aguero, although Premier League greatest of all time conversation, but then they'll go, yeah, but Drogba scored clutch goals in the Champions League. And then it's like, I have to back out the argument there. It's like, okay, well, if we're talking Premier League, cool. And I think you're spot on with Kane that it's, yes, as a goal scorer, he definitely 100% has that, but GOAT is a level above, world class, isn't it? GOAT is, you can change a whole game. Like, I spoke about Messi the other day with PSG. Messi might not be having the best season, but Messi quite easily could pop up this season in a Champions League semi-final or a Champions League final or in a World Cup final and do something that only Messi can do that will win his World Cup that he's missing, or another Champions League. And that's the difference.
Yeah, I get that.
Can Kane do that?
I think Harry Kane's amazing. I've spoke about him being one of the best strikers in the world since I've been on social media. but I draw the line at legend because, and what I'm hearing a lot of in the last 2 or 3 years, and I've only really heard this recently from Spurs fans and Liverpool fans that ride out for Gerrard, where they say winning trophies isn't important. And then I just sit there and think, so for the first time in football history, the trophies that players lead their teams to winning are now suddenly being disregarded. And we're the only sport we do that in, because I don't know. There's always exceptions that maybe prove the rule, but generally the greatest ever baseball players, basketball players, NFL players, boxers, MMA fighters, tennis players have won the pinnacle trophies within their sport. And I think that's just my take. And no one is the greatest or one of the greatest without doing it. You don't have there's no one that we call the greatest heavyweight of all time who hasn't won world titles and hasn't been in those. And even fighters that have been world champions but haven't really been tested by other great fighters, we don't look at as goats just because they were world champions. And that's what that Kane needs to add. Like, I wanted to get your take on it, Kaz. Like, do you feel like winning league titles, Champions Leagues, FA Cups, do you think you need these on your CV to be in greatness categories, or can it come down to purely footballing ability and your statistical output?
Well, then you could point your finger to Alan Shearer then, isn't it? He's not really a GOAT, is he? He's the GOAT of the Premier League because of the goal scoring thing, but he's not the GOAT of world football. Do you get if that makes sense? Like, he'll go down as one of the best number 9s in Premier League history of all time, maybe arguably one of the best finishers ever. But in the GOAT category, yeah, you do need to win titles. Of course you do. Of course you do. It's all about legacy. It's what you can look back upon, see what you won in your lifetime at whatever club you're at. When I think of GOATs, I think of players like R9, Ronaldinho, Zidane, and now Suarez. You know, like all these types of players, Drogba, even because of he might not have done it loads of times in the Prem in terms of consistently goal scoring, but the clutch goals, what he's won them, drag him over the line, immense player, and that is a player I'd be scared of. Kane's but the thing is, what separates Kane a little bit from the rest is that he's not just a great goal scorer, but he can assist, and his brain thinks differently to other number 9s. He's complete in my eyes. If he's just to win somehow a Premier League, World Cup or something, we're having a different conversation now.
Can I ask you guys a question? If he wins maybe a Carabao and an FA Cup, does he then become a GOAT, or is it only a Prem and a Champions League? Where do you draw the line?
It depends on what is his contribution to that as well. Like, I think, if again, does he drag his team over the line? Does he score the winning goal? Like, what is he doing to contribute to those conversations and to those trophies? I don't think Kane has to do much for people to change their mind. I don't think he needs 3-4 Premier Leagues. I don't think he needs more than a couple of trophies, because the guy is that close. Like, I think that's the thing, is like, Spurs fans, not you, Patrick, but they get a little bit defensive because it's like, oh, well, why can't people just recognize his greatness? Everybody does. I've never met a single person that doesn't think Kane is excellent. It's just, he's just that close. It really could just be a Premier League or a couple of, FA Cups. Yeah. I really don't, like, for me, he wouldn't need that much.
I think it's got to be a major trophy. It's got to be a major trophy.
Yeah.
It's got to be
okay.
I think it has. But equally, I remember every fan base when Bruno went through that 2-year period of scoring and assisting. Like, Bruno holds the record. He's the highest goal scoring midfielder across all competitions, I think, ever in the history of English football in terms of across a whole season. But he didn't win a trophy. So it's a good little achievement, but there's no trophy there. It's not the greatest midfield. So I wouldn't call it the greatest midfield performing season of all time just because he scored more goals than any other midfielder in the history of English football in a singular season. And when I look at my own club, I don't consider Ruud van Nistelrooy a legend. He won 1 league title. So Bruno, Rashford, they're at the club now. Sancho that's joined, Casemiro's come in. These guys don't get to be even uttered as legends at Man United until they've won, for me, at least 3 Prems and the Champions League. If you ain't done that, I'm not in.
I've got a question for Daps. I've got a question for Daps. Because we've had this conversation before. We've had this conversation before, and I know you already know your answer. Just want everyone else's thought. Is Raheem Sterling a Manchester City legend?
No, definitely not. I respect what he did for our club. We wouldn't have won as many trophies without Raheem Sterling. He's not a club legend. 100% not.
Do you know what I want to say as well, just in terms of the GOAT thing? It's just, when you look at all the Premier League GOATs in terms, all these forward players, everyone always has something to poke. There's always holes to poke in their game. Maybe apart from Wayne Rooney, you maybe look at Drogba and go, in big games, he was the guy. probably better than Henry in big games. He was the guy. In any final or semi-final, you want Didier Drogba. Then you look at obviously Henry, who wasn't always there in the finals, but he's the greatest forward the Premier League's ever seen. Like it's not an argument. You know what I mean? Sergio Aguero never won the Champions League. You can even drop down a level. You can go Steven Gerrard never won the Premier League. There's holes in all of these goats. Do you know what I mean? There's holes in all their games. So what makes, for me, that's why I disagree and say Harry Kane is, I wouldn't say that close. I'd say it's still possible, but I wouldn't say he's close to it, because for me, one major trophy isn't enough, because everyone pokes holes in all these guys that have been there and done it and at the very, very top of the arguments for me.
And that's why I asked Monts.
I think that's a fair point. Sorry, Monts. I think that's a fair point. And it's, for me, like, there's a way of doing it. You create, and that's really boring, but you create a metric and you kind of like clutch moments, like titles you've won, and you kind of look at it all. And most of the players you've mentioned, there might be one box that isn't ticked. Henry never scored in the final, so he hasn't got that box ticked. Aguero didn't win a Champions League. Gerrard didn't win the Premier League. But I think if you listed out all the things that you have to be in that GOAT conversation, I would say right now Harry Kane may be missing 3 or 4 of the boxes being ticked. And if Henry and Aguero and Rooney, just to name 3, have all but one box has been ticked, it's kind of like, well, surely you can't include someone that's got 3 or 4 boxes remaining. Like it's just a fairness thing. It's not a dig. It's like I always say you can't be a legendary manager in football without winning back-to-back league titles in the Champions League. That's just my personal barometer for, like, because I think that it should be a very, very finite amount of people you put in a GOAT category. Otherwise, if you make the bar low, like suddenly you have 1,000 goats.
Anybody in there?
What's the point of being a GOAT if there's so many of you?
And we're all agreed he's world class. Sorry, Jess. We're all agreed he's world class. It's a difference between world class and GOAT.
And he can also be a Tottenham legend. There's a difference between a GOAT of football and a legend of your club. He's 100% going to be he is already a Tottenham legend. Like, it is what it is. But like for Arsenal, you can't even, like, there was people that wanted to put aubameyang as an Arsenal legend, and it was the most laughable thing that I've ever said. He hasn't won enough, like, he hasn't done enough. So I think in terms of personal, like, legend status of your own club, those parameters can be different based on what club he plays for. Tottenham doesn't have the same, it's not really Liverpool or Manchester United, whatever. But in terms of GOAT, then you're starting to use parameters based on everybody, and then that's what it makes it so much harder. You know what I mean? For Kane. So yeah, like, he just has to win something.
Sorry, I thought you'd stop talking because it froze on my screen. Sorry. A great example in the Prem is Eric Cantona. Eric Cantona doesn't have the same level of goals that a Kane got. But like now, if someone comes into the City team like Haaland, scores lots of goals, people say, well, they'd have won the league title without him. So has he really moved the needle that far? It's a fair point. Mm-hmm. Eric Cantona won Man United. It was the driving force behind Man United winning 4 Prems in 5 years. The one year we didn't win it is the year that he kicked racism out of football and got banned for 7 months. And ironically,
Terry, that's a bar. I'll give you that, Terry.
It's a good line. And what was mad about that ban?
Who brought it back?
What was mad about that ban is Man United issued half of that ban to him. People don't realize that, but Man United banned him half that time. But he came into a Man United team that hadn't won a league title in nearly 30 years and dragged us over, a good team over the line. Our first year, we were doubted. No one thought we could do it. So again, I think the Harry Kane argument of, but he's not been at the best team. Man United weren't considered the best team in the first and second year that we won those back-to-back league titles. We were still doubted. There were other clubs like Liverpool, like Leeds, Aston Villa, Everton maybe at the time, Arsenal, one of them, that were considered better than us. But he was so good in those seasons. He not only led Man United to doing back-to-back league titles twice, he was the captain and the leader that made us do 2. We were the first team ever to do the double-double, a Prem and FA Cup twice. Before we did it twice, the only other team that had ever done it, I believe, was actually Tottenham under Bill Nicholson. So it's like, it isn't just the goals that you score, it's driving your team forward. So if Harry Kane was to have taken Tottenham, a good team, and made them title winners and just helped them achieve things that not only their club has never achieved, but no other club in history has done before. Like, he doesn't even have, like, I feel like you've got to have those elements.
He still can, right? And he still can do that.
And that's the thing, Harry Kane can do it.
Yeah.
It's when I see people come out and like, when I sort of saw this tweet as a football fan, I just sort of looked at it and thought to myself, we're gaining on Rooney and soon to come for the GOAT. I'm like, Harry Kane, just in terms of his career, can't even talk to these people yet. And I'm just saying it because if suddenly Harry Kane wins 3 Prems and a Champions League, trust me, Spurs fans will be saying this thing in 20 years' time when another player's coming along just scoring goals with no trophies. You'll be like, no, where's the trophies? Where's the match-winning performance in a Champions League final? You'll all be saying it because you want to protect it. But guys,
if you look at City, right, I know some fan bases have said things about the 3 statues we have outside our stadium, but there is a relevance to them. They're 3 players that contributed to us winning our first Premier League title. That Aguero goal. Without that Aguero goal, right, we didn't win the Premier League. Fucking hell, the Champions League, if only. But we didn't win the Premier League. So that goal is huge, right? There were other players that contributed a lot. And sometimes when it was our 10-year anniversary last year and everyone was talking about Aguero, I was like, there was a whole squad of players that actually, but it was because it was his goal in the 93rd minute that won us that. That is the difference. Yeah. And I think that you're spot on with Cantona that you probably wouldn't necessarily pick out something with Cantona. You're bang on. Club.
You're bang on. Do you know what with Gerrard? Gerrard was a very consistent player for Liverpool. But if you take out his goal in the Champions League final, the FA Cup winning goal, if you take out the goal against Olympiacos in the season that went on to winning that title, Gerrard, he'd still probably be a legend, but there's an affinity. People always say to me, "Oh, Ollie's only a legend because of that goal in the Champions League." What, the goal that won the Champions League and completed the first treble in the history of football, the only treble in the history of English football? Yeah, that's a very big reason why you become that, and all the other things is what makes you. Those moments are that is what makes Ollie a legend. I'm like, well, what's Kane done? He's got to do it. But we're going to move on from this conversation because I think we could beat around the bush for ages on this. Drogba won the Champions League for Chelsea in 2012. Aubameyang is not an Arsenal legend. He had 0 Champions League appearances in 163 games for Arsenal. Well, he did. Yeah, I mean, listen, but that's just it. Club legends. I always leave club legends to the fan base to decide. I don't really get involved in that, but I do think it's laughable to put Aubameyang anywhere near like an Ian Wright, a Bergkamp, or a Thierry Henry. It's dumb. It's crazy.
What about Adebayor?
I loved Adebayor. I was sad when he left the club, but yeah, he was a bastard.
Were you sad when he scored that goal? Was it you, Jess, that threw the stall that missed it?
100%. That was me.
I'm not gonna lie. That was one of my favorite Premier League moments of all time. They
still missed. Of course, it was.
No, because you know what it is. I'm one of these people that's like, one of my issues with football fans is football fans can give it, but they can't take it. You know, like fans do madness stuff to footballers all the time, what they say, what they throw, and what they do. And then the footballer does one little thing back, and it's like, he shouldn't be doing that. For me, the best celebration I ever saw once, I was a kid at an Leighton Orient game. Our school used to get free season tickets, and this away fan base had been getting at one of the strikers. I think his name was Lee Griffiths. He played for Leighton Orient. All game, calling him names, calling him crap shit and everything, right? He scored the winning goal in the 80th minute. And the celebration they did is he went up in front of them celebrating. And then one of his teammates bent over and he acted like he was wiping his teammate's bum. And then he threw it at the crowd like that. And they went mental. And I just remember thinking that they deserved that for all the crap they get. He got a 2-game ban for it. And I'm like, oh, wow. That's mad to me. The thing they're shouting him is crazy. I want to move this on a little bit, people. The man, the myth, the legend, Via Potato. Arteta, he wins Manager of the Month. Arsenal are top of the league. Are they contenders, and can Arteta maintain this? They were away to Brentford on Sunday. A tough game because Brentford are good. Toney's going to be buzzing after his England call-up. So first question is, we'll talk about the game first. How are Arsenal going to do this weekend against Brentford?
It'll be tough. That's all I can say. It'll be tough. I've come across a couple of the Arsenal fans, no names. Do you think they're going to absolutely walk over Brentford? And I think it's going to be a lot tougher because Brentford at home, I get it. Yes, you're going to say, yeah, it's just
about that one, isn't
it? We know about that one. But if you look at their record at home, they're actually really good. But I would never write off Arsenal. They still got their first team to play out there, other than Partey, I think, unless he's back. But
Partey
they can be tough. They can be tough. But if you're a good team, you get it done, bro.
I think quick football, the way Arsenal play, might be a bit tough for Brentford though. But I just want to see Ivan Toney hanging at the back of Saliba so I can hear some more slander.
Pause.
Pause. I know.
Hang on, hang on.
I said hanging at the back. Hanging at the back.
You know what
Yes,
they-
bro,
you know
don't
what
ever hang out the back, bro.
You
Honestly.
know what? Yeah,
no,
you might have got sick minds. You
no,
older
No,
lot
no,
have
no,
got
no.
sick
That means
minds.
that means one thing and one thing only, bruv. Hanging out the back of someone. What's going on there?
Yeah, that is very dodgy.
Hey,
Very
maybe
dodgy.
it's 'cause you-
nothing
maybe-
to do with it, Cassidy.
Maybe because you lot are like 10 years older than me and it's a little bit different. But
Fair.
hanging at the back, I'm talking
I
about.
didn't think it was that deep. Still, I don't know.
Yeah, that's
Well,
one thing. He's hanging at the back post.
it depends.
Like when
Some
Chen got caught lacking.
Some people, when they hang out the back, it's deep. Some people, not so much. It all depends on how you've been blessed, I suppose. But that's a weird analogy, bro. Do you know what I mean? What are you going to say next? I want to see him on, sucking on Ben White's toes. What's coming next? Bro? What are you doing
I mean,
here?
Paul Scholes don't mind a bit of
That's
that.
your legend. That's your legend, Terry. We spoke about that last week.
No. That's Eddie, bro.
Yeah, Eddie's
He
been
likes
yeah,
that.
he got caught in
Well,
4K
hang on,
as
this
well.
is this right. He wasn't sucking his daughter's toe. He was getting the spit out of it.
This show's gone left. Let's bring it back. Come on, ladies present. Ladies present. Let's bring it back.
You know, it's
Let's
really
bring
funny
it
though
back.
when you make these jokes. You can always see what people are comfortable with in their own sexuality when you make these jokes. I'm telling young lads watching, if you make a joke like that, any man, bloke you're with in your friend group is like, "Whoa, what you saying, bruv?" They've got you need to go into a room with them and have a conversation because they're hiding something. They're keeping something inside when they react like that. It's the way of the world. You know what I
Move
mean?
this conversation on,
Anyway,
Terry. I think
Brentford
Terry
versus
shut down
Arsenal.
very
What you saying, Jess? What you saying?
Yeah, I'm with Kaz. I think this is going to be a hard game. Like, I think it's going to be very close. Like one of those, I think it's going to be similar to Crystal Palace, difficult away ground, team that really gets up for their home crowd. Ivan Toney, a striker that you really have to watch out for. Him and Mitrovic have been a revelation this season in terms of strikers that I don't think people had very much love for. And all of a sudden, everybody's looking at them like they're something special. And they definitely are two of the most informed strikers. So Mitrovic is hard to play against, and Ivan Toney will be just the same, especially with the, like you said, the England call-up. So I think that this is going to be a challenge because Arsenal last season, we did runs. We love runs. And then we would just go into bunches of losses, 3 losses on the bounce, not winning in January, things like that. So I think this is more than Tottenham per se, because I don't think Tottenham actually have this issue. I actually think it's more of an Arsenal issue where we lose a game and then we lose a couple more. And so I think it's more like, if I'm looking at a team that needs to bounce back, it's Arsenal, because even though we beat Zurich in midweek, like we're supposed to beat Zurich, like that's whatever, like we're playing second teams, like, so this is really the test to see if Arsenal can bounce back from a loss and not make 1 loss, 2 losses, 3 losses, whatever. And so I think Brentford, off of the back of beating Leeds 5-2, are going to be very confident playing against us. They beat us before. Last time we beat them, Toney was not there. So yeah, for me, it's going to be a game mostly built on mentality. Arsenal should walk in there and win, but if we don't have our mentality right, we will get swept away. Just like if we hadn't had our mentality right against Crystal Palace. So I don't expect it to be a pretty game. I don't expect us to be playing, beautiful football. I think it's going to be a scrap. I'm sure they'll score at least 1 goal against us, but we need to score more than them. I mean, that's just what it is. They're going to score a goal. Like, we need to score 2 or 3. Who is it
that does them ones? Who is it that does them ones on Sky? The ones
What?
like, we need to score more than them to win the game. It's like, thank you, Jess. You've just
like
explained
my
rules of
football.
football.
Yeah,
I get it now. I get it.
Exactly. But
to win
the game, we need to score more goals than them, 100%. But you guys know what I mean. Like, they're to score at least 1 goal, so we're going to have to score multiple goals. Like,
Patty, I want to come to you on this, bro, because I know you've been kind of pushing this thought all season. They lost the game, Arsenal. They didn't have a champions. They missed the last weekend because the games were postponed. They didn't play Europa League. So it's been a bit of time to rest. Do you feel like this is going to be the Man United defeat away to Brentford? Do you believe this is where you're going to start to see Arsenal crack and crumble a little bit? Or do you still think they're going to maintain this run they've been on?
No, I mean, I would love to say I hope. Well, I'd love to say I think this is where Arsenal start to collapse, but I can't see it, man. I think, and I've been saying it all season, even before when we did our Arsenal are a good team now, unfortunately. I hate to say it, but just got to keep it 100. They seem to have something that they didn't have in previous seasons. Yes, they beat teams that they should be beating, but you still got to beat them. And I think they go to Brentford and beat them as well. yeah, I think it will be. Brentford are a good team, but Arsenal do know how to play some good football. We'll see what they're made of, but I do think they'll win, man. I just got to be honest. I think they'll win, and it won't be like in previous seasons where they start to collapse in games like against Everton and Brentford and all of that. I think they'll win this game. Yeah, unfortunately, just got to keep it 100. They're going to win.
It's an interesting one. Bryson here says, yes, Terry, Arsenal were contenders for top 4. City will win the league by 10 to 12 points. Our other teams, all other teams are battling, for top 4, even Liverpool. And look, maybe
Liverpool are bottling, to be fair, but they do that.
Well, I kind of look at it from the point of view of, like, will Arsenal challenge for the title this year? Maybe not. I think that this season they're going to develop into title contenders, and I stand by that. And that's why I predict them to win this weekend. I feel like Arsenal are real. I feel like Arteta, as he's proven me wrong. I think he's a much better manager than I thought he would become. The way his style was kind of blossomed somewhat. And, almost like ugly duckling in many ways. That the old, started off with football looking pragmatic and horrible, and it just got better. It's true. Like it just got better.
I disagree. I actually think
so. His football wasn't pragmatic in the beginning.
No. Let me finish. Okay. I actually think.
Can Gaps go and then I go?
When they first started, because we played Arsenal early doors Arteta, right? Very early doors Arteta, and I was shocked at how quickly they were playing good football out from the back when he first joined them for the first couple of months. And then all of a sudden it dropped off completely. And I was shocked because you've got to go back to Pep's first season at City, that we were awful playing out from the back because we weren't ready for it. He actually had them playing good football very quickly. Then they dropped off for me. Like, I don't know what happened. Maybe he looked at, do you know what, we're not ready for this yet, and he stripped it back. But now I do agree with you. When I watched them against you the other week, there were moments me and Ty were messaging it. Cass was in the group. Cass was at the game, carried away, thinking United were spanking Arsenal all over the park. And me and Ty were like, bro, watching it on TV.
No, I never said that. Don't
bro, come on.
I'll pull the WhatsApp message. Hey, I'll pull the WhatsApp message.
I'll pull it, no problem. Bro, you know I've got them.
No, you were saying Arsenal were all over, man. You said yourself, Arsenal. No, technically, you said Arsenal playing better football than United and being over. And you said that they've been all over Man United pretty much for a while. I'm like, no, I think it's been pretty equal. And you said, Anthony's been kind of dead. I'm like, I've actually been watching. He's actually been doing quite well. Someone said it was dead.
You're making
actually no. That was Souls. That was Souls.
Yeah, it was. Okay. But no, they were playing. Arsenal were playing beautiful, and I think they're playing very, very good football. Terry, I think you're spot on with something. I think Arteta he's got it right. He's just got flaws at the moment. Like against you, the biggest flaw was trust.
Well,
I don't want to say trust the process.
No, but
trust
that's
the process.
Well, he made a mistake.
He made a mistake. But he'll learn from it.
The problem that we have nowadays is we live in this world where, so we know how well Lisandro Martinez is playing right now. He might have another 10 games like this, and then it'll be a game where someone knocks the ball round him, beats him, and scores, and everyone see, I told you he's rubbish. And I get his banter, but it's become so boring.
It's all to do with height all of a sudden.
Well, yeah, but it's more than that. Like Arteta's been doing really well this season. They lose against United. See, told you the man's washed. He was never good enough for Arteta. It's like it's one game. I think Arsenal will bounce back. I think they'll play good football again against Brentford. I think Brentford's a hard game. There's no doubt about it. Most games in the Premier League are, especially away. But I think Arsenal will come through this. I think they'll score 2 or 3 goals. I think there'll be another brilliant performance from Gabriel Jesus. Ben White is fit, even though there was rumours that he was injured. That's why he wasn't in the World Cup squad. Partey's back. I think that's going to be another important thing for Arsenal. And people can call me an Arsenal simp as much as you want. Being honest is not simping. It's telling the truth, When Arsenal were bad, I'd say they're bad. It's just the way that it is. But yeah, sorry, you were going to say something.
No, the only thing I was going to say is that, like, I think Daps is 100% correct. Like, we did play nice football right away as soon as Arteta came in. And our first game when Arteta came in was Man United. And we beat you guys at home. And we played very well. But he knew he couldn't sustain it, like Dap said, with the players that we had. And I think you're going to see something similar with Ten Hag, that he'll be a little bit more pragmatic than he probably would be. And then that line is going to start inching up. He's going to start playing on that halfway line. And you guys will have the bulk of possession because he doesn't have the players to play that way all the time. That's just the transition. So we saw it, but a lot of other people couldn't see it. And I get that, because when you're watching Arsenal just every once in a while and, you can't see it. But Arteta was trying to play a certain way, and now we see it. And it's 3 years in the making for us to get here, but
I've seen the other side of that shamelessness. Like Gal on Monday was like, Graham Potter, you will see no difference in the style of football for ages. It's like, it doesn't. The timeline for every manager implementing their style is just different, and it's not one size fits all. It's not a magic glove, as it were.
Terry, you and the Grealish thing that you posted earlier started a conversation between me and Hold Tight RBiz, who Tyrone Trafford tunnel with him and Cass, and we were talking about Grealish and Sancho, and I said, right now, if Sancho had gone to City last summer, then Sancho would have had an impact first season, because he is the type of player that suits Manchester City's football right now. If Grealish would have gone to Manchester United and been playing under Ten Hag right now, where Ten Hag is still in transition, Grealish would be banging. However, in a year's time, when Ten Hag is playing the football that he actually wants to play at Man United, Grealish would probably not be as good, and Sancho would fit better. Because it's exactly what Jess said, that at the moment we're still seeing United are most effective on the counter. I don't believe that's what Ten Hag wants out of Man United. It's just now, with what you've got, that's what we've got to go with.
Yeah, so, no, I get that. One of the super chats actually says, will Sancho ever live up to his price tag, Terry? Man looks meaty for 75 mil. GR, you're a regular super chatter. You're saying the word meaty. I got a feeling that you're not of the generation that would typically use that word. I'm just saying, I'm putting it out there. However, I think he will when he's starting to. He's starting to. He's starting to score goals. And as what made me laugh last year, he wasn't scoring, wasn't performing. This year, he's starting to play better along with the rest of the United team. He started to score, and everyone's still at his throat. It's like, well, you asked for GA from him as well, and he's now delivering.
Did you see the stats I showed you earlier?
And he's got a long way to go. Will he deliver? I still believe he will with the right manager. And the right system, but we'll see what happens. Thank you for the super chat though, GR. It means a great deal to me. Anthony here says, I see Kane as a Totty kind of player, a one-team player seen as a legend to the club only, even without major trophies like Totti with Roma. But no, I said this the other day, my friend. I don't mean disrespectfully. Someone said to me that Totti's like a European GOAT, and I disagree that he's a European GOAT when you think about other top players. But let's just go and have a look at Totti for a second. I'm going to do this. I'm going to indulge it in terms of his honours as a football player. I just want to read this out right now. Yeah. So Totti has 1 league title, 2 Coppa Italias, so basically FA Cups, and a World Cup. He's won a World Cup, a league title, and 2 FA Cups. Like, Totti didn't win nothing. Like, and Roma winning a league title is gargantuan. So, yeah, they're not comparable still, but I hear your point, my friend. Anyone he picks this. Oh, sorry, I've already had that super chat there. Thank you. Arsenal fans are allowed to enjoy it. We once had Socrates and Mustafi as the last line of defense. Rest of you have never felt that pain. Wow.
I have.
City fan has. Liverpool fans know that pain of bad defenders 100%. They've got Trent as a right back. They know 100%.
Maguire and United have got Maguire, to be fair. So we've all felt it.
We felt pain like that as well, man. We've had some bad defenders in our time.
Dyer's one of them.
But like Mustafi and Socrates, you guys, come on.
Just do some research, you kids.
I remember he started as well, though.
Gerard flipping Vikings.
Do some research on William Prunier at Man United ball. Oh my God, he was awful. But yeah, I mean, do you guys think Arteta can maintain this? Like, is Arteta like performing above his station, Patrick, or
do you know?
Is he?
Go on, Monts. And then
I just think that with Arteta, I think we're only seeing things this way because it's Arsenal. And people don't like Arsenal. If Arsenal fan base were like a lot more likable, people would be way more open to the fact that Mikel Arteta is actually getting it right. Like, he's getting it right. It is what it is right now. How long he's going to do it for is still a question. I still think there's obviously gaps in the Arsenal team. I think they're a little bit thin when it comes to injury and whatnot, but no team is perfect. And I look at them and I kind of think Liverpool 17-18 moving to 18-19, where I just generally feel like you can see each piece being plugged correctly, position by position. And I think if he gets it right with the next window, we could be looking at one hell of a team, a young team with a lot of longevity in that team. I think now it's just about having the backbone and being able to win the away games at OT. You know what I mean? To go to Anfield and get a result. That's what's missing, because and there's nothing wrong with that, because a season and a half ago, it was the consistency. That's what people complain about. It was the consistency. The consistency looks more or less there so far. You know what I mean? You get that consistency, you almost guarantee yourself top 4 with a consistency like this throughout the season, I think. But to move up to that sort of, to bridge that gap towards title contenders, that's when you start again, get the next window right and increase your chances to win in those those penultimate games. And I think that's what it is right now with Arsenal.
If Arteta was performing above his station, we would, like you just said, be winning the games against, maybe at OT away from home. We would feel like we'd go to the Etihad and get the 3 points, and we should feel like we should compete in those games. There was a time under Arteta where the expectation was that we would not be competitive in any of these matches, like against any of the top 6. Like, that was the expectation. So I think he definitely has a ways to go, like 100%. Like, he's nowhere near, like, he does have culpability against Manchester United. Like, we saw some of his flaws there. We saw some of the flaws at the back end of last season, but I do think he deserves more respect, because for somebody who's never managed before to come into Arsenal where we were and to get us where we are now, I do think that if it was any other team, people would recognize it. But equally, he ain't no Pep, and he's no Klopp, and he's none of this. So we also have to maintain our humbleness too, and remember that he is so early in his job, that he's going to make these mistakes, and he's nowhere near those managers. But I think he's done a really good job, but he's made a lot of mistakes. And I think it's okay to say you've done a good job, but you've made mistakes. I feel like sometimes we live on 2 islands. Like, you can't say that. And there's definitely been both progress and mistakes, which you should expect.
Yeah. The thing with Arteta is there's been 2 managers that I can readily think of in Pep and Zidane, who their first proper jobs have been managing 2 of the biggest teams in the world, and they've achieved greatness in that job specifically. They've done things that no one else has done, trebles and 3-peats. But how many other managers have done that? Or have they had to earn their stripes and make their mistakes building up? No one ever talks about like the mistakes that Wenger definitely made before he managed Arsenal. As an example, I'm sure you guys love Poch at Tottenham, but before he came to you, I bet he made some mistakes. As an example, Fergie, I'm sure on his way up. I mean, Antonio Conte is now at Tottenham. I don't even know what teams he's managed in his career. So, I mean, how is he doing at Barley? Do you know what I mean? In his first job, the man had an 8% win ratio. Like, do you know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I feel like Arteta, we've all got opinions in the moment on him, and I didn't think he could even get an Arsenal team playing this well. I thought he'd lose. The fact that he's never lost that dressing room when we all thought he had, I think that is phenomenal, if I'm being honest with you. I think that's phenomenal that he hasn't lost that. What are you saying, Patty? What are you saying?
Yeah, no, I was going to say kudos to Arteta. He's definitely improved the team. And but for me, I want to see how he does in the big games. We all know that he can beat a Brentford or he can beat a Wolves or, whatever. I want to see how he does in the big test. Tottenham at home, Man United away. I say Tottenham at home as in Tottenham away to them. I was at home. And to be fair, I mean, manager of the month in August, it's almost like a poison chalice. Nuno got it last year and look what happened to him. So I really want to see how he continues this and what he does going forward. Brentford away is a big test, but I do think they'll win that game. If they don't, then obviously questions will be raised. He has spent a lot of money, so it is time now to start being more competitive in these big games. And I don't mean just playing good football. I mean getting results. It's not always about, everyone says, Arsenal play fantastic football. They play fancy football. But when they were getting cherished or, praised when they lost at home to Man City or they lost away to Man United, you need to get something out of the games, man. It's not just about playing beautiful football. You also need to get results. So, yeah, I want to see how he does in the bigger games. or you know, the European semi-finals or finals if they get there, like high pressure, high stake games. But yeah, you got to give him respect. He has done well. Looks like he is coach. Actually, I was going to say coaching and bringing players through, but some of his top youngsters or top players have regressed as well. Smith Rowe doesn't look the same guy. Saka doesn't look the same guy. So we also am I wrong there?
Saka's regressed.
Yeah, Saka has
That's a terrible take, honey. That is a bad take. Emile Smith Rowe has been injury prone, so you're wrong there.
I'm sorry, I can't talk on the golden kids. I'm sorry, but yeah. Other than that, no, you know, all jokes aside, Arsenal do look good. But like I said, I just want to see how they do in the bigger test. But yeah, so credit where it's due. He deserved manager of the month. They have had an easier schedule, and I know people will hate me saying this, but it's true. They have had an easier schedule than other teams, but all you can do is beat the teams in front of you. So, yeah, credit where it's due, man.
Yeah, I mean, a comment here says, I love Haaland, but why do you keep adding his Brain B and Mold B goals and not Messi's Barca B goals? Also, Haaland will be the greatest poacher. Look, I mean, we can do it for you live because that's the essence of being live. Let's just get what Messi's goals were, and I'll include those at that age from 13 years ago if you want me to, like if it's that important. I think I might have even done that. So basically, 15 years ago, he was 22. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15. So even if we add his goals from when he, for Barca B and everything else, but there's only 6 goals, by the way. So we're going to have 38 goals that season, plus 16, plus 17, plus 8, plus 1. I've added that twice. Sorry. 38, plus 16, plus 17, plus 8, plus 1, plus 6. So that's 86 goals at 22 years of age. The season starting at 22 years of age for Messi. So double that still of Haaland, which is why I made the point the other day, and I stand by. The best young finisher since R9. People keep misconstruing that. I'm just literally saying finisher. He's nowhere near Messi's level as an overall footballer, but the fact that at the same age, he's got almost double the career goals that Messi had is ridiculous. And it's not a dig at Messi. It's praising how good a finisher Haaland is. And it really hurts my football soul that people are not hearing that. And they're just hearing, why are you comparing him to Messi? I'm not comparing him to Messi as an overall footballer.
Yeah, but what's next, Terry? The best young finisher with a right foot is since like Messi or something next. You know what I'm saying? That's why I think people are upset.
What do you mean people are upset? Because you keep adding words. What do you mean adding words?
As in people, you're adding context, which is fine. But I think people get annoyed at the fact that you say best young finisher and not just young player. Like people just can't compute those two things together. So you can say best young finisher with a left foot. Like next, you know what I mean? Like best young finisher who can use his head and his right foot, but not his left. Like you know what I mean? Like that's what people get annoyed at.
It's so kind of like when
you're saying I'm wrong. Sorry, Jess. You're saying I'm wrong for doing that then?
No, he's saying that people don't compute what you're saying.
He's based.
You have to spell it out word by word for them to understand.
Basically, he's saying people these days, or even younger people these days, are not as intelligent as people used to be because you need to add context upon context upon context and so on. You know.
Okay. No, I get what you're saying now. Sorry, Jess, you were going to say something.
No, I was just going to say that, like, yeah, sometimes you do have to create little categories to make your point, like, because if you say, you can't say Haaland is the best in the world yet, but we can still talk about him as the best finisher, young finisher, whatever. It's like, I understood what you were trying to say when you said like Aaron Wan-Bissaka is the best defensive fullback in the league. Like people, oh, well, why can't you just say fullback? Well, we're saying something specific to give him plaudits for what he's really good at. So yeah, like I completely understand that. And like, let's not get it twisted. Haaland is going to overtake everybody. Like this is a conversation that is almost like not needed. Because he's going to break every single record. If he stays here,
he may not stay in the Prem that long. He might go to a Real Madrid or something like that.
But here's the thing, Patrick. But here's the thing. It doesn't matter because, like, yeah, he may not be all the Premier League records, which people are like worried about because they don't want their favorite. I don't even care if he breaks Thierry Henry's record. I don't care. I saw Thierry Henry; he was phenomenal. Whatever. But if he goes on to Real Madrid, he's just going to be like Cristiano Ronaldo. He's going to be the best in the world. Like, this is what we're looking at, this kid. If he stays fit, like, I don't even care about the Premier League. He's going to be the best in the world. Like, this guy is a freak.
He's a cheat code, but I think we've seen anyone can fall off in it. Like, you know what I mean? I still think I think the fact that we have to say, he might not be here that long to break the records is a madness. Do you know how much of a compliment that is for a player to say you weren't here long enough? You know how much of a compliment that is? You know what I'm saying? They say that that's what I'm saying about Cantona on them, man. That's what they say about them, man. You know what I'm saying? So that's the levels, but I do think we've seen certain man, we will see. Like, I'm not saying he's gonna fall off in it, but it's possible for anyone to drop off in it.
Of course it is, and of course it's always possible. So you make the predictions, and again, we have to make these distinctions now because people get angry when when I say he's going to break records this year. I clearly mean as long as he's fit to play, but you have to add unless he avoids injury, because people go, well, what if he gets injured? Well, of course, if he doesn't play, I don't think he's going to break the record. It's like people with brains don't have to ask those questions. Like, I don't know, it's a weird one for me, but yeah, he's this kid is, and one of the questions we were going to ask is who's the best striker in the league right now. One of the questions we put out on Twitter earlier, and it has to be Haaland, right? He's the best striker in the league right now. Must be, or not. The goal's not enough
right now.
In form, right 6 games, or
Kane's not in the worst. Kane's still doing what he's doing, isn't it? It's difficult because with Kane, I mean, do you give someone who's been here for 6 games, do you even let him chat to someone who's been doing it for 7 years and the gap between them isn't exactly colossal? Or do you go strictly what we see for the last 6 games?
I mean, I suppose you look at it this way. If 10 years ago Lionel Messi joined the Premier League and after 6 games was killing it, would you allow him to be called the best player in the league?
No.
So if Lionel Messi, like peak Messi, joins the Premier League,
peak Messi.
Yeah, 10 years ago I said you wouldn't say he's the best player in the league straight away.
But 6 games.
I think that's a bit different. You have to say a 22-year-old Messi. The year before he won his first Ballon d'Or, innit?
Maybe, but we're talking like right now, Haaland is tracking to score over 70 goals this season. That's how good he is. And the reason why I think Haaland can be called the best striker in the league right now is because every time there are Harry Kane vibes here. Every time when Harry Kane's first season, when he was scoring them goals, might be a 1-season wonder. 2-season wonder. Can do it in the big. Done in the big games. Can do it in this. The goalpost kept on being moved. I'm seeing that with Haaland. He's doing it at Salzburg. What does that mean? Yeah, he's done it in the Champions League, but how would he do it for a bigger team? He goes to Dortmund. He's doing it for Dortmund, but Bundesliga attacks. How would he do it in the Prem? He's come to he's killing Premier League records straight away. 5 games to get 2 hat tricks. Sort of. I think it's like 200% better than anybody else has ever done it. He keeps doing it. I think right now he is the best striker in the league right now. And the reason I say that is this: probably barring Tottenham fans. If right now I said to you, Monts, said to Arsenal fans, to United fans, you can pick right now to buy you can have Haaland or Harry Kane. You can sign either one right now. I think 80% of football fans would say, "Give me Haaland."
I'm saying Kane. Can't lie. I'm saying Kane.
Well, I would also say like the striker that I'd least want to play against right now is probably Haaland. Like, he's the player that I'm more afraid of as an Arsenal fan. Like, he is going to kill our back line. So, I mean, I just feel like, it might be some recency bias in here and a little bit of like shiny new toy. It's Haaland. He's getting all the plaudits. There's not much in it. I think even though Haaland has more goals, Kane is definitely still doing his thing. But Haaland is scary. And I think it also has something to do with the team he plays for as well. Like, he's getting more chances and things like that. But yeah, I would say it's right now it's probably Haaland, but like, isn't Harry Kane meant to like start slow in the league too? Like, if this is slow Kane, like, let's see how we feel after the World Cup. After the World Cup, let's see how we feel, because if Kane has a good World Cup and he comes back and he starts doing Kane things, it might be a lot closer than we think. I think it's a little bit early, but right now it's just Haaland, but it's really not that much in it, I don't think.
If you had to tell me who you'd rather sign, I still right now, it depends on your team at the end of the day. It does. You put Haaland in my team, guarantee he ain't scoring that many goals. You put Haaland in Chelsea, he's probably not scoring no goals. You put Harry Kane in the Chelsea team, I guarantee he fixes that whole team up differently because he can drop deep and do a bit more than what Haaland does. But at the end of the day, you're going to rate your striker on goals alone, right? So he's converted the most chances, and with minimal shots. By the way, he doesn't really shoot a lot. When he does, he actually does score. Like West Ham, he didn't do nothing all game. He has a shot, scores, done. That's the difference. Kane don't really do that, but I think Kane offers a lot more. If you're talking about better striker, Kane is definitely a better striker. But in terms of a better finisher, like as a better footballer, should I say? Sorry, better striker and finishing. It's obviously Haaland, man. That guy once he gets his roadrunner legs on, it's done, man. That in behind run is crazy scary.
Do you see with Haaland though? Terry, you made a point about, you know, when Kane was saying, people saying Kane's a one season wonder. Like, listen, I was one of those guys, and I think when you are challenging from the off, the first thing, I think people are always going to do that. I think that just comes with the package. That comes with the package. Like, Kane was getting called a one season wonder for 3 years. Let's be real. Like, you know what I'm saying? And Salah was getting called a one season wonder for two and a half, 3 years. You know what I'm saying? Even now gets the disrespect. Like, these guys, I still think Haaland's probably going to be getting them doubts, even if he does this for a year and a half. I think the real fans will understand what's in front of them. But a lot of people are gonna come and poke holes in the game. And I always say this about the elite: when you have to search far and wide for cracks, you know someone is elite. That's when you know it's scary hours. That's when you know it's scary hours. So, but for me, I still would lean towards Harry Kane. And maybe that's because I'm a Liverpool fan and I like to see more from the striking option. And I've been plagued by Darwin Núñez, who some people still tend to think he's actually good at finishing or good at anything. So
if Kane went to City, how many goals do you reckon he has right now? Like, we're talking a player that's probably the ultimate pet player, number 9, by the way.
I think Kane would have a few more goals than what he's got for Tottenham right now, no doubt. It's a hard one. I mean, Haaland's come in and scored. How many league goals he got?
11. Is it 11?
11 league goals in 6 games. No one's ever done that. No one's ever done it. And even other good quality strikers under Pep at City haven't done that. Like, I think he's moved that bar. I mean, he's got a 41% conversion rate this year. And by the way, in terms of shots per game, Harry Kane 4.8, Haaland 4.5, Ronaldo even this season averaging 4.5 shots per game inside the box. They're all averaging around 2 to 2.5 each. So Haaland would get these opportunities. I think the problem you've got with Haaland, and this is also a praise for Harry Kane, so why GA is a good and terrible statistic at the same time, because GA calculated by where the shot's being taken from, how many defenders are in front of you, what the angle is, and where the goalie's positioned.
Not GA, XG, you mean?
XG, sorry. But the problem is, players like that goal Haaland scored against Dortmund the other night, the XG is really low on that because of where the ball was in the air. But he's already scored 2, maybe 3 goals this season like that, where you think, it's too high, or he ain't going to get there, and he gets his foot on it. Harry Kane, by the way, scores goals most other strikers don't. Lewandowski's the same. Zlatan was similar. That's why these guys have such high goal scoring levels. And you know, Haaland would probably have this many goals if he was at Tottenham this year. I think he'd have almost the same amount of goals if he was at a Liverpool. He would just find them, and they're almost out of nowhere. The crosses to him aren't even always that great because you can knock him a little bit higher because he's a big man and he jumps so high. Like, I don't know, there's something about him he's just out of this world. He's a phenom, and I think in 5 to 10 years' time, we're all going to look back and just think, as long as he doesn't get any major injuries that rule him out, this guy is going to absolutely take the world by storm. And I keep hearing people say that no one can ever catch Ronaldo's goals. They'd have to score 40 goals a season for 17 years. Yeah, unless you're scoring 70 to 80 goals a season, like this guy is tracking towards doing. And people say it's impossible, but Messi and Ronaldo did it. I don't know why this kid can't. I don't know why he can't keep scoring like this. He's not even like his goals rely on him being fast or strong most of the time. He just needs to be in the right place. He's ridiculous, man. But I assume, Patrick, you'd still say Harry Kane's the better striker right now.
Yeah, like without a shadow of a doubt. Sorry, without a shadow of a doubt. Like, I know Haaland's in a phenomenal space right now, but I don't believe he'll keep this rate up. And also, like Jess said, she made a really good point. Harry Kane tends to start the season quite slow, and then he gears up. He's already got 5 or 6 goals. So I do believe that somewhere they're going to meet in the middle, and then we'll see what's what. I'm not disputing Haaland. He's a world-class player already, great striker, but so is Harry Kane. And Harry Kane's been doing it year upon year upon year upon year upon year upon year upon year. So to then come in for 6 games and tell me that this kid's better, it's a bit it's quite disrespectful, to be honest. Do you know what I mean? So
can I ask you a question on that? Can I ask you a question? First thing I want to say this. I'm not doing the weird thing that Messi, Ronaldo fanboys do, where I'm trying to plan it. Harry Kane is world class. He's top class. If Haaland was to keep scoring like this year, say he scored 70 goals in all competitions, say he breaks Messi's season record of 73, would you concede he's better if he does something crazy?
100%. If he does something like that, oh my God, like what can I say? But right now it's too early to then assume, and because like it is a phenomenal scoring spree he's on, but I don't believe he'll keep this up because that's inhumane. And other than Ronaldo and Messi, no one else has done that. So the proof is in the pudding. I've got to see it to believe it, because I can't see him continuing on the streak of scoring 11 and 6, something like, that's mental. That's what, then he's going to get 21 11. Yeah, he's going to get 21 or 33 in 10 and all of that. He'll have 30 goals by Christmas if he keeps this up. I can't
say it in the name, but that is Haaland is kind of an android. That brother's an android.
Yeah, but something has to give. Do you know what I mean?
He's an android.
He's a Targaryen. He's got dragon blood.
He's a Targaryen.
He's a Viking, bro.
There's something about him. Do you know what? That's funny, because someone said in a comment a minute ago he can't be world class when he only has 15 touches per game. Well, he averages 24, but
it doesn't matter, man. It doesn't matter.
That's nonsense.
Exactly.
But that's why I think he can go on to break these records and not get injured, because at City, man ain't got to run around. He can just, he hasn't got to strain his body. One of the reasons why Harry Kane actually gets a lot of injuries, same reason why Rooney burnt out. Rooney's part of Rooney's issue was he drank and smoked and ate the wrong things a bit. But he just spent all the games running around like a madman. Like Harry Kane has to drop deep, get involved. Haaland doesn't have to at Man City. He just gets to stand there and wait for that ball to come into the box. He is almost like that kid at school that was a goal hanger. Just waiting up at the other end of the goal. He's basically a goal hanger.
That was Monts.
We've got some super chats. We've got some super chats here. Yes, Arsenal have improved, but the jury is still out on him, as in Arteta, spending 400 million over 3 years. Football should
improve.
Sorry, saying it moved on my screen. It lost it. Improve. However, is scraping top 4 an improvement? Well,
they might not scrape it though. They might
exactly.
They haven't even spent 400 million. I think it come out that they spent 278 million, isn't it, over 3 years?
Like that? Well, everybody inflates the price a lot, but then at the same time, we've broken it completely down and rebuilt it from the ground. Like we haven't salvaged anything. No players have survived this. So I get people act like this is a lot, but it's actually not that much that Arsenal have spent. It is, but I mean, when you're starting all the way over from scratch, we haven't salvaged anything.
People always do that though. If Ten Hag turns things around, it'd be but you have to spend money to get there. Just be aware of discrediting it. Arsenal are now not rolling over in big games. That is a big departure from previous seasons. However, they need to start winning those big games. I think is what alluding to what Patrick said there as well. Yeah. Arteta has a questionable record in Europe and finished 8th twice and bottled top 4 last year. He may be the next big thing, or he may be the next Brendan Rodgers. Olu here says, who thought Messi would score so many goals at 18? Nobody. No one thought that. Don't worry, Lissandro will handle that robot. That's his next game in the Prem, isn't it? Man,
that's interesting.
United. That's going to be. Can you imagine? Oh, mate, I'd love Martinez to be the guy this season that shuts him down, because the agendas will run. I love Haaland, but can you really be the best player in the world with 15 touches per game? If that's the case, then we really are going to miss Messi and Ronaldo.
It depends on your role. Answering your question, if you're a striker who only needs to have 4 or 5 touches and you're going to convert on every touch, then you can, because that's his role. You're not a creative midfielder. You're not a 6 or an 8, or like, if that's your role and you're doing it exceptionally, then yes, you are the best in the world at that job.
And there's a reason. I mean, Jesus and Sterling are 2 players that Man City got rid of that obviously improve other top 4 contending teams. They're great players, but they could not score at this level. Like you could even I'll take Sterling out, just say Jesus. Like those chances that Haaland has got, Jesus probably cannot score because, like we said, the ball's too high. He doesn't have the same radar, all that kind of stuff. So don't discredit what he's. I think this what we're doing is we're saying because he's not flashy and he's not dribbling and he's not doing this, that what he's doing is not skill and is not talent. It is runs, timing, things like that, tenaciousness, time, like all that kind of stuff. That is talent. And if it was so easy, they would not have gotten rid of Jesus. And that's big for me to say because I rate him so highly. But Haaland is on another level. Like, come on, you guys.
Yeah,
that's your 3 goals away from breaking Jesus' all-time top goal scoring record in the Prem, anyways, which is like 13 or 14.
It's crazy as well. Like, this is the thing with sport. Yeah, the guy that just won the guy that wins the next Olympic gold for 100-meter sprint doesn't mean anyone. It doesn't mean he's as good as Usain Bolt, but he is the current Olympic champion. Just because Haaland one day might become the best player in the world, you can't discredit that because he isn't as good as what Messi and Ronaldo were. Otherwise, sport shouldn't continue. Like, that means you can't celebrate anyone being the best in the world currently because he's not as good as one of the previous ghosts. Like,
Pele,
it's a bit of a warped logic in many ways. You know. Reminder, Norway are not at the World Cup. He's going to be arrested. That's true. Even his international record, bruv. The guy's got something like 20 international goals in 21 caps for Norway. Norway, bruv. Like, it's.
They got Odegaard. They got Odegaard feeding
Odegaard is feeding him. So
yeah, there you go. There you go.
Do you know what I mean? There we go. Listen, everyone who's tuned in today, a big thank you to each and every single one of you. Please smash like buttons before you leave. Make sure you're subscribing with the bell notifications turned on. We've got match reactions for you tomorrow after the Man City and Spurs games. And, of course, one match reaction on Sunday for Brentford Arsenal. Because, as we know, a few games have been cancelled this weekend because of Her Majesty the Queen's funeral. Until next time, everybody, look after yourselves. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. Thank you to my panel as well, by the way. Always appreciate your time.